We're all very critical. Human beings are critical by nature. We'll look at something, we'll immediately judge it. That's not a bad thing at all. Being critical of things is how we improve, how we get better. Someone once said, "A critic is a man who does not know how to drive, but he knows the way." I disagree. That is not necessarily true. There are many times, such as myself, I am a very harsh critic when it comes to art. Myself, I'm lucky if I can draw a stick man. My dad and my brother are exceptional artists. My dad teaches art at AI, Fullerton, and Cal State Long Beach. But as I said, I can barely draw a stick man. That does not change the fact that I've been around good art all my life. I've looked at it, and I've asked my dad to draw me things, and I've asked him to redraw it because I hated it. And my dad would do it and show me again, and eventually it would reach a point where I liked the thing. That being said, critics are not always like me. Some critics can do what they want. Edgar Allan Poe, he was, during his lifetime, one of the harshest critics around. He would absolutely write scathing reviews to anything he would read, and he actually made a lot of enemies that way. People hated him. People would not want to be around him and not want to submit anything to the paper he worked at because he seemed to hate everything. But as we all know, Poe is the father of American horror stories. That's why I truly believe that just because you know the way doesn't mean you can also drive. In fact, on YouTube nowadays, people make money from being critics. One of the critics that I watch continuously is named Nostalgia Critic. He remembers it, so you don't have to, is his catchphrase. It is short and simple, and he will sit there and review movies. He'll review movies of, well, nostalgia. And he will pick it apart piece by piece by piece on what he likes, what he doesn't like, and what he thinks. Even our teacher is a critic. Critics will always have a place in this world, and they'll always find a way to critique things. That being said, there's nothing saying that just because you're a critic doesn't mean you know the way. In fact, a number of critics online nowadays, they've gotten a bit past being a critic. Even Nostalgia Critic himself has gone and is actually on Patreon. He's asking people to give him money so he can write his own screenplay. Do I think he can do it? Yes. Because being a critic, he knows piece by piece what to do, what goes wrong, what goes right, and I honestly believe he can do it. Being a critic nowadays will make money. It always has and it always will. Finally, just because you're a critic does not mean that you don't know the way to drive. It just means that you know which routes you like, which routes you don't like. Thank you.
It's not. No. You have it in a break?
All right, Robert, I like the attention device. You've got a very clear thesis statement. There's no preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. You do come up with some good examples, and that really kind of creates the structure of the speech, or the examples. That's okay. I think some of them probably come to you while you're speaking, which is not a big deal, but it does mean that because there's no preview, it does sometimes feel a little bit like you're wandering when you want to be in more control. The delivery aspects, though, suggest that you're in pretty good control. I thought your posture was pretty solid. You stand in a position, you forcefully take that and speak to the audience. That's good. Your eye contact with the audience is excellent. Your facial expressions look reasonably animated and forceful for the things that you're talking about. There weren't any obvious signs of anxiety, except sometimes that momentary hesitation as you're getting to the next idea that you're trying to think of. But other than that, I thought that you were fine. The exit seemed a little bit abrupt, but it was clear that you were done. Maybe a bit more summary would help there. All right, thank you.